Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet.
Welcome to episode 121.
It is such a pleasure to have Ms. Suzie Young on the podcast with us today. Suzie is the head of digital and direct marketing at Signet. Suzie and her team are winners of many marketing awards such as the Aureas, BADC, and she has been recently recognised as one of Inside Retailer's top 50 people in e-commerce. Today we are exploring excellence in marketing. Let's get into the episode. Suzie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hey, Suzie, what's your story? What's your backstory? Like, what significant moments took you down to this path to end up in marketing and really on the cutting edge of excellence and constant improvement in that space?
Yeah, so my journey has actually been full of lots of twists and turns. I started, in a graduate position for a company called Insignia. Insignia is a labeling, coding and marking business in the B2B space. And I started in sales, actually. So I had graduated from uni with a marketing degree, but I was looking for a graduate position and started in sales and loved connecting with the customer. And from there, I then moved into my first marketing role. And so that was kind of way back now in around 2004. And I loved that and I loved exploring marketing. But then what I found is over the next 10 years, I'd kind of go through many different roles where I would be in sales or marketing or both. And really just exploring and learning lots of different skills, etc. I remember there was probably a point around 2010 where the organisation started going down a continuous improvement culture, and we started looking, at the Shingo model and learning all the different tools and practices around that. And I think that was quite a pivotal part in my career because that's, a time when I started learning different skills and focusing in on process and what that meant to me, from a marketing perspective. And then, from there, I went on to have some really interesting roles, kind of more project-based roles that would explore marketing and technology and customer journey mapping. And that's kind of where I discovered my passion for technology and ultimately digital marketing. And so I've really spent the last 6 or 7 years more focused in digital marketing and e-commerce, and joined the Signet team 4 years ago and have had an absolute amazing time, have an awesome team. And we've won a bunch of awards, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, you've done well. I've been able to watch part of the journey. It's been awesome, Suze. So with your journey so far, you spoke a lot about being in sales and also having that direct contact with the customer through a lot of your career. Like, do you feel that has helped you tune into the customer and do what you've done through marketing? Has it played a part?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think everything in marketing starts with the customer, right? And understanding your customer deeply and building offerings from there. And I've always said that it was great to be in roles where I was sales and marketing manager because I'd be working on marketing, with the team in-house, but then I would go on the road with salespeople and actually go and talk to customers. And that was really powerful because there's no better voice of customer than, actually sitting there in front of a customer rather than, and looking at both the quantitative and the qualitative side of customer feedback.
Yeah, you can't do better than getting that qualitative through a sales position, can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, I guess, the Shingo model and getting into that CI journey. So much of that hangs off the customer too, doesn't it? Like starting with the customer, hanging the whole journey off of the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was where we started doing things like, value stream mapping back in the day, and really starting with customer insight and then reviewing that journey from, of that whole value stream from awareness right through to delivery.
Yeah, it's so cool to have you on the show because you've got this background in sales, this big background in marketing. You've also been involved in a CI journey linked to the Shingo Institute and the Shingo model, which a lot of the guests on the show have spoken about. And I know that you've blended this together to create really what you've achieved. You know, your team at Signet, which is a mid-tier to large-tier Australian packaging company, has really hit it out of the park. Like, what would you say are some of the key elements in actually achieving that? So it's like pulling this bit of the Shingo Institute and CI, the knowledge you got through sales, but then also marketing together.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that have contributed towards the success. I think there's a few that I can think of at the top of my head that have made really significant impact. So one of them would be creating the visual workspace. You know, when I first joined the department, everything was paper-based. We didn't really have that central workspace. It's very manual. There was a lot of our processes were taking a really long time. Approvals would take a very long time. And so we've worked really hard on creating visual workspace through really great digital tools like Trello and Miro. And that's been an absolute game changer because, now we can all operate collaboratively. We can work from anywhere. So that really, that was great that we were already doing that before we hit COVID, because that transition through working from home became quite seamless for us because everything was already digitally visual. And it's also then helped us create flow and speed through our processes. So we found we were only, for example, maybe able to execute one campaign per month before, and after we implemented visual workspace, we're now executing between 2 and 5 campaigns a week.
Wow.
And sometimes it used to be, I remember that, it would take us 30 days or something to get a campaign executed, whereas we've been known now through this process to execute a campaign in a couple of days. Like, that's not the goal. We definitely want to be way more prepared than that. But if issues come up and urgent campaigns come up, which has happened a lot through the COVID period, right? Sometimes we have to react to changes in the market or freight delays or stock delays, and we want to put something out to our customers quickly. We've now got a framework where we can execute that well.
Yeah, that's neat. Hey, so on that, like, I know we've got some other topics you wanted to cover, but it might be pertinent that we dig in on that one just a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
that's amazing results, sort of going from one campaign up to sometimes 5 a week and going from 30 days down to like a few days. It's crazy outcomes. What would you say is the key elements of that visual workplace, using tools like Trello and Kanban that's actually helped you do it? Like, what is it that's really enabled that through?
Yeah, so the first one is the technology. You've got to have a good, easy to use technology. So Trello works well for us in marketing. Some people use other products that are similar, like Asana or Teams Planner. There's a bunch of different ones out there. So I'd say find the technology that works really well for your team. Trello is great for marketing because everything looks very visual in there. So you can see the creative when you're looking at your Kanban. The second one would be having the team take ownership over the process. So this isn't just a top-down, this is your process, this is what you have to do. It started as an idea and us all getting together and brainstorming, what could a process look like? And everyone being involved in that, having a stake in that. And then I guess the other thing is just a continuous improvement approach to that process. So the very first iteration of our campaign Kanban, is not what we're using today. Today would be, 20 plus times it's been reviewed. We actually just did a review very recently again where one of the people in my team took ownership of this. They did a voice of customer to our team, what's working well, what's not working well, and all together the team were able to brainstorm and make some great improvements to that process. So it's just always having that mindset and having the team feel like they have ownership of it, I think, has been the key to success.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. I can see, wherever you've got the environment that you've got a process, and that's a process to execute, but also continuously improve. And then you're improving that system, which is, so big in areas of lean or agile and all those bits. No wonder you're achieving what you're achieving.
Yeah, and I think like in terms of choosing the right platform for my team being, a lot of the people in my team are digital and e-commerce people. They're very innovative by nature. They like working with technology. And so giving them the opportunity to explore technology from a workspace and collaboration perspective, they kind of find that exciting. So, we've been using Trello for a few years, but just recently one of the team said, hey, let's explore Miro and let's use that for our daily huddles. And that's been a really great evolution for the team. Prior, we would use a digital huddle board, but it would be more of a static board that someone would update and would be hosted in our team's environment. Whereas now we're using Miro, which lets us have all different pages to our huddle boards, and it's interactive, and all the team can be in there at once and be updating. And so we've gamified some parts of it as well.
That's awesome. So as you mentioned a few times throughout the discussion, ownership, and that, I guess, really engaging the team and creating ownership at the frontline team and enabling them to learn and grow and improve. Like, why and how has that worked for you, rather than it being totally leader-led, this whole creating autonomy, empowerment with the frontline?
Yeah, so I think that is the way that I've always approached it. And that probably talks to my personal leadership style as well. I love kind of empowering people and seeing them develop and take ownership of different things around our department. And I think if we're able to do that as leaders, then our systems and processes become sustainable, because I don't think it's possible that one person being the leader can be across everything and responsible for everything. And so I think that's just something that's always worked. And I think that's the key to it, us being 4 years into the journey and it's still thriving and being better than ever, because it's team led rather than just manager led.
Yeah, that's neat. It's really, I guess, you're blessed, Suze, to have that natural approach, because it's not typical. I guess typical in Australia anyway. We can talk to it's top down is typically the approach.
Yeah, I think it's also age and stage of the team too, isn't it? I probably took a bit more of a directive approach right at the beginning, helping, having a younger team, helping guide that team, in the what is Kanban, and having used Kanban in other roles, non-marketing roles, and getting the team upskilled and getting them additional training and continuous improvement has been helpful as well. But then as time has gone on and people have really latched on to these concepts and these ideas and seen it working for them, then it's kind of been easy to have them take ownership and take it to the next level.
Yeah,
now
that's
I
neat.
feel like I'm the one who knows the least about all of this. They're so good at what they're doing on those boards and all the different automations and clever tools that they're using.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Suze, I really hear you saying that there's this journey, there's a journey to skill the team up and on board, train, coach, develop the team. But then it really hits this evolution in the life cycle of that team where empowerment is totally capable, and you can really just totally empower and let them go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're really fortunate that where I'm at Signet, we do offer continuous improvement training to all employees, not just the people in the ops team, for example. So most of the people in my marketing team have actually done some training in that area. And I think that's important for a marketer to get the balance of getting training in all different areas, not just the discipline that you're working in, because that's going to help you with any job you have in the future. It's going to help you with process and strategy and culture and all those kind of important areas.
Yeah. Now, so with like I'm thinking some of our guests might be thinking, oh, okay, you got empowered people, but how do you keep them focused on the right things? They could just be off going in every direction. Like what do you focus on within the marketing department, really helping, I guess, people connect in and align and focus in your team?
Yeah, so I guess there's two answers to that question, or two parts to that answer. One would be just the fundamentals in strategic planning and having that cascade through the organization. So making sure that, I'm communicating the company's vision and goals, etc., and that we're able to then, to my managers and then to their reports, and then making sure that everyone's on the same page. And then I guess the second part to that would then be the execution of that strategy. So, Trello or Miro is just the tool that we use, but we execute mainly through Agile or Scrum techniques. We split up our marketing department into different functional areas like e-commerce, digital marketing, content, campaigns, data. And then each functional area, we run different Kanbans and sprints for that Kanban. And so that's been a really great evolution for us. We've probably been doing that for about 18 months now. I think we've been running in that system. And each area has a different size sprint. Some sprints are 1 week, some sprints are 1 month. It just kind of depends on the work type in that group. And then I guess what we do is we run then kind of the meta scrum with myself and the marketing managers where we can meet regularly, which is once a month. And we can talk about the priorities and are we on track in terms of the strategic plan and keeping everyone on the same page and making sure that we're all working on the things that we're supposed to be working on.
So that's awesome. Like it's really best practice hearing you talk about that scaled approach for Agile, because I know it's been or Scrum. It's been a real challenge for a lot of organizations, and I guess you're using that meta Scrum and executive action team techniques to really help tune it in. Now,
yeah, and I'd say we're not perfect. We're definitely on a journey, and I think if someone would have come in and give me a report card on how we're running Scrum, we're not going to be getting the 10 out of 10. But I think it's a journey. Everything like this. And I think, I remember doing the initial training and thinking, wow, this is an amazing system, but thinking we've got a little bit of a journey to get to that perfection, and to not kind of beat ourselves up over not being perfect right at the beginning. And if I think about how we've progressed in 18 months, it's significant and we'll keep improving. And I think what's been really good about it is it's helped us take those kind of big, scary projects and break them down into bite-sized pieces and helped us gain momentum on them and get a lot done at once, which is amazing. A good example is when we're working on events. So, for example, we do some trade shows. Like one of them is AusPack, a packaging trade show. Another one is online retailer trade show. And these are pretty big pieces of work, a lot of stakeholder engagement, a lot of different mini tasks as part of those events. And in prior times, that would be kind of an all-consuming project for a few people. But we, this time around, just treated it as, okay, there's 6 2-week sprints until the event, broke down the tasks, did the regular meetings, etc., and just found that it just ran so much smoother. So yeah, it's been kind of life-changing for us.
Yeah. Now, Suze, this is going to be a great question for our listeners, because I know that Suzie led a lot of great and quite big projects using Prince2 and traditional waterfall approach, and you did it well. You did it very well with the traditional Gantt chart, Prince2, PMBOK style approach. What have you found, Suze, in Agile versus that? Because you were successful in that traditional approach too, and now you've been successful with Agile.
Yeah, so I think there's a time and a place for both. I think with the more traditional project frameworks, there is a lot to do in that scoping stage and forming of the project itself. Like you can spend months and months in there getting that whole framework and timeline right. Whereas the thing I like about Agile is you're working off that minimum viable product approach. And so it reduces that scoping time up front. You can get going early, just keep talking to your customer, reiterate, improve, and get started a little bit faster. So, but I mean, that doesn't suit everything. So I think it's just understanding where Agile is going to work best for you and where maybe some of the other principles will work. I will say with the more traditional frameworks, I do remember spending a lot more time in the paperwork and kind of spending a lot of time in the Gantt charts and having to redo documentation all the time, which could be a bit frustrating, versus running a project via Agile and then having it on a great digital tool, digital shared workspace, kind of cuts down a lot of the admin and paperwork, I think, for the leaders and the project leaders.
Yeah, it does simplify things. So thanks for that. And Suze, I got another question for you too, because you know teams that don't have any framework for project management. And I don't know if you've lived in a team, because I don't know a time when you ever didn't use some sort of structure for project management, which is why you've been able to execute and get stuff done. But what would you say is the main difference between a team that doesn't have any project management sort of execution approach, they just sort of shoot from the hip and do what they want to do, versus PMBOK or Prince 2, highly structured, and then Agile, which is structured too? What's your thoughts about having some sort of structure to project management versus the teams you've seen in the past where they got no structural approach to project management?
I think one of the most fundamental differences is the stakeholder engagement and having the right people bought in to your project early on and through that process. What I've found through my career is if you have solid project management and you have the right people in your project team and you're able to articulately communicate to exec and to board through that structure, you've got a better chance of getting the buy-in and getting the approval and not getting the holdups and not getting stopped along the way. And I hear a lot of stories about, failed projects or projects, blowing out. And I think that could be one of the reasons. If you're not structured, then how are you ever going to get the buy-in from the people that you need to around the organization? So we, for example, we did a large project a couple of years ago, which was migrating the Signet website off an old legacy platform onto the Adobe Magento platform. And it was a significant project, ran for about 2 years. And people ask me all the time about that project and to give them insights and, what did we do and why did it run well? And I always answer that by saying, I think it's just the basics. I think we just had solid project management and stakeholder engagement and communication. And so it didn't feel like we were battling with people through that process. It felt like we had the right people on the bus and it was documented. And then if things came up, we could work on that together.
Yeah, that's awesome. You see it so often in the other side where there is no structure or approach. It's so easy to drift off down a path that's not going to help you.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Head into traction and carnage. Yeah.
Achieving excellence in an organisation requires change. Best practice change is achieved through having a great culture and project management approach or change management approach. The Enterprise Excellence Academy offers certified training tailored to specific industries such as manufacturing, heavy industry, medical, government, and many more, in both Agile and also PMBOK project management approaches. The training is practical, hands-on, allows for attendees to straight away apply the learning and make project gains and progress on what they're trying to achieve. To learn more, go to enterpriseexcellenceacademy.com. Let's get back to the episode.
Hey, Suze, I really appreciate the knowledge you've shared around, creating a visual collaborative workspace, empowering and creating that ownership and that really constant learning, and then strategic planning and execution. I reckon they're 4 solid pillars. What's your motivator for the whole thing? What drives you to put so much effort into these 4 pillars that I know you've done time and time again throughout your career?
Yeah, I think for me, my personal purpose is around working with people. So early on in my career, I think I was about 4 or 5 years into my career when I got the opportunity to lead my first team. And it was hard, but what I realized through that time was that leadership and working with people was something that I got a lot of energy from and that I really enjoyed and that I kind of wanted to have through my career. And so no matter what roles I've done through my career since then, there's always been a leadership aspect. And so I think I genuinely enjoy working with people. I genuinely enjoy seeing them develop and evolve and helping them. And I think I've been very fortunate and very lucky to work with so many amazing people through my career, all different sorts of people through my career. And yeah, it's definitely the part of my job that I like the most. So it's not an effort for me to do this, to work with teams, to get teams, to step up and be collaborative and get engaged because I'm having a lot of fun while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you, Suze, because it sounds easy, doesn't it? Like the whole piece of, develop people so they're highly skilled and constantly learning, then empower them and then involve them in change and run good strategy deployment and good project management and execution techniques and help them learn on CI. Like that's a big gig, but you've really done it. I guess you've constantly got the rewards from it. But what do you feel, Suze, stops others doing this or other organizations doing this, creating these key pillars we spoke about that yes, we're talking about them for marketing, but they transfer across any department or division or role?
Yeah. I mean, if I reflect on some of the leaders that I've had, they've really prioritized people and culture and getting the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats. And I think, that's something that when you have it, you can't take for granted because it's actually really hard to do. And you've got to often go through a bit of pain before you get to that spot. And then when you get to that spot, you want to protect it like crazy.
Yeah.
And so, we're sitting here today in Signet with this amazing team, but 4 years ago, we were going through a lot of change and there was a lot of people, in new seats, and it was very much, a time when we were focused on building this high performance culture. And there was some ickiness in there, but where we've been able to get to as a team today, I think is really great. And I think yeah, it's important to have people around the business focused on culture and focused on the right people. And then I guess I've also been lucky where I've been in organisations where they've been very focused on having kind of that structured and systematic approach and having continuous improvement cultures that are focused on excellence and focused on having good tools and frameworks around the business. In our business right now, we use the continuous improvement principles across all teams, whether it be marketing, sales, warehouse, operations, etc. Everyone's doing huddles, everyone's doing visual boards. A lot of people are doing customer journey mapping or value stream mapping, and and so I think maybe if organizations are lacking some of these focus areas, perhaps that's why they're not further along in the journey.
Yeah, I guess that's where that word enterprise comes in, or organization wide, where I guess sometimes it can be just termed operations, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yep.
Hey, Suze, what would be your enterprise excellence 2-minute tip to other marketers listening to this podcast? What advice would you give them in a short, sharp elevator pitch type approach?
So I mentioned it before, but definitely the investing in a really good digital collaborative workspace tool. So I know a lot of marketing teams out there are already sitting on different platforms like Trello or Asana, or there's a bunch of different ones. Rike is another one. I think if you don't have something like that, that would be my recommendation. It's like a real game changer to get all of your work visual so that your whole team can collaborate, and the gains that you're able to get in terms of speed and execution of campaigns and projects, ensuring that approvals happen when they need to, ensuring you've got teams focused on the right priorities around your business. So it's well worth investigating for your own team.
Yeah, using technology for good. That's a great outcome.
That's it. And it's all like pretty inexpensive too. So I'll say maybe there's a perception sometimes it's going to cost lots of money. The first 2 years we were on Trello, we used the free version. So it was only a couple of years ago that we started paying, and it's peanuts compared to other investments that you'll make in marketing. So yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be really simple.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so what's been throughout our episode, we've spoken a lot about learning, and I know you've been constantly learning throughout your career, but what's been a recent insight for you? What's been a recent aha moment that you've had?
Well, I mentioned before the website migration project, and I think that's definitely been an aha moment for me because when we were running that project, that was actually my first website migration project. So I'd run other tech migration projects like around CRM, marketing automation, ERP, but I'd never done a website project before. And I mean, it was big and it was hard. And after we migrated, we were able to migrate that website without losing any customers and revenue, which is a little bit unheard of because often migrations kind of come hand in hand with, a drop in traffic and a little, temporary drops in revenue. And it gained a lot of attention in the market afterwards, and a lot of different a lot of our tech suppliers and our agency have been very interested to talk about this. And I've done a lot of webinars and podcasts or events talking about this. And I remember when we first migrated and people were interested, I thought to myself, I don't even know why. Like, it doesn't seem that special to me. It just didn't seem that special. I thought we were just we had a hard slog and we had this big project. We ran that project and lots of nights and weekends and all that kind of stuff. But a couple years on and reflecting a lot and talking about it a lot, I realize it is because of the fundamentals and the basics that we did well, which was that we planned it well. We had a project management methodology. We had the right stakeholders engaged. We communicated well. We did a lot of change management, and we had a lot of documentation. And so it's just all of these things that I guess I've been doing through my whole career across all different jobs and disciplines that kind of all came together for me in this project. And it was a great lesson just to go, you can, try all sorts of different jobs in your career and have different opportunities. But the fundamentals are kind of really important, will always do you well through your career.
And they cross over so many different roles, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Suze. Well, Suze, I really appreciate your knowledge and everything you've done and everything you continue to do, because the fact you're willing to put this information out there and help the world of marketing is amazing. Suze, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect and learn more?
Yeah, they can reach out on LinkedIn. Love connecting with people, love opportunities to benchmark and chat marketing and digital and project management. So yeah, give me a connect.
Nice. Well, Suze, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the knowledge and thanks for helping us create a better future.
Cheers. Thanks, Brad.
Cheers.
What a great episode. Remember, you can visit our website, enterpriseexcellenceacademy.com, to learn more about the certified industry-specific training and project management that we offer. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future. There were 2 key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, the power in a visual workplace. This is such a key part in creating a more agile team and organisation. When team members can see their meaningful vision and the progress of the goals they are chasing and projects they are executing to move towards this, amazing things happen. A lot of workplaces are similar to a sporting field with no scoreboard or crowd. It creates apathy and low performance. Add a live scoreboard, together with recognition and celebration through a good crowd around to recognise the great work, and you have rocket fuel. The second key takeaway for me was Suzie's discussion around the need for a project management approach or framework. This is logical when you think about it. How can anyone get better at something when there's no structure or framework to it to practice and actually learn and truly get great at? You can't get good at anything that has no structure and is totally fluid. Thanks again for your time and knowledge, Suzie. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.